That's the face of a fan base in mourning. Not because their team lost a championship, not because their star player got injured, but because they just watched another piece of their championship puzzle get handed to someone else for nothing. Khloe Peterson gone to Toronto, Marina Mabrey shipped to the Valkyries, and Indiana Fever fans are sitting there asking the same question they've been asking since Caitlin Clark got drafted. Why can't we keep players who actually fit? Because here's what nobody's saying out loud. This isn't just about losing one three-point shooter. This is about a pattern that's been building for months, and it's about to reach a breaking point during what might be the most chaotic free agency period in WNBA history. Over 100 players hitting the market at once. 2 weeks to rebuild entire rosters. A CBA document that isn't even finished yet. And in the middle of all this madness, Indiana has to figure out how to surround the biggest star in women's basketball with the right pieces before their window slams shut. The calm before the storm isn't peaceful. It's terrifying. Khloe Peterson wasn't a superstar. She wasn't an all-star. She didn't have signature shoes or massive endorsement deals. But she was exactly what Indiana needed next to Caitlin Clark. A three-point specialist who shot 38% from. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. Deep, played solid defense, spaced the floor, and never once complained about her role. The kind of player championship teams are built on. And now, she's wearing a Toronto uniform. The Fever didn't protect her in the expansion draft. They made a choice, and Toronto made them pay for it. But here's why fans are losing their minds. This is the second time they've watched this exact scenario play out. Last season, it was Tammy Fogg-Benlay, another player who meshed perfectly with Clark's style, gone. Now, it's Peterson, and the fan base is looking at the pattern and panicking. One comment summed it up perfectly. We can never keep good players who fit with Caitlin Clark. Hundreds of likes. Because it's not just one frustrated fan venting into the void. It's an entire community watching their front office prioritize the wrong things while other teams get aggressive. Marina Mabrey leaving? That actually brought some relief. And after that body check on Clark that had fans screaming at their screens, watching her get shipped to Canada felt like karma, but losing Peterson in the same move, that's the painful part. And it gets worse when you look at who Indiana chose to protect instead. They kept veterans who didn't fit the timeline. They kept players who clogged the offense instead of spacing it. They made safe decisions when the moment called for bold ones. Now training camp opens in 2 weeks. Free agency is about to explode, and the Fever are starting from behind, while teams like New York and Las Vegas are running victory laps with their returning cores intact. The anger isn't just about Khloe Peterson. It's about watching a championship window get narrower while the front office acts like they have all the time in the world. They don't. Clark just finished the most dominant rookie season in league history. The time to build around her is right now, not next year or the year after. And every player that walks out the door who actually fit makes that window a little bit smaller. More than 100 players are about to become free agents at the exact same time. Read that number again. Over 100. That's not normal. That's not an accident. That's the result of veterans across the league deliberately structuring their contracts to expire after the 2024 season. They were betting on something bigger. The new CBA negotiations dragged on for over 15 months. Players wanted better salaries, better travel conditions, better everything. And they knew that if they timed their free agency right, they'd hit the market just as the new money started flowing. The gamble paid off. The CBA got done in March. Now, every team in the league is trying to rebuild their roster with a third of the league available and a timeline that makes zero sense. Qualifying offers go out April 7th and 8th. Negotiation period runs April 9th through 11th. Signing period is April 12th through 18th. Then, training camp opens April 19th. Do the math. That's 7 days to negotiate with free agents, 6 days to finalize contracts, and then everyone shows up to camp. For context, NBA free agency runs for weeks, sometimes months. The WNBA is compressing an entire offseason's worth of roster construction into 2 weeks. But here's the absolutely insane part. The CBA document isn't finished. Teams received an anticipated timeline, but nobody has the official rulebook yet because the legal paperwork isn't complete. General managers are trying to plan cap space without knowing the exact rules. Agents are strategizing with clients without confirmed salary structures. Players are being told they can't negotiate yet, but nobody knows exactly when they can start or what the tampering penalties are. Sabrina Ionescu told reporters that GMs are working really hard behind the scenes, but the reality is everyone's flying blind. Paige Becker, when asked about recruiting at USA basketball camp, said, "I don't know if I can answer that, but I'm friendly with everybody." That's not someone being coy. That's someone who knows tampering rules exist, but has no idea what the new consequences are, because the document governing the whole process isn't done. So you've got 100 players, 12 teams, 2 weeks, and no finalized rulebook. This isn't organized chaos. This is just chaos. And someone's going to make a desperate move they regret. Someone's going to lose their franchise cornerstone because they waited too long. And someone's going to pull off a heist because everyone else was too confused to move fast. The big names already locked themselves down. Sabrina Ionescu re-signed with New York. Breanna Stewart is back with the Liberty. Aja Wilson isn't going anywhere. But here's what's weird. Outside of those obvious moves, it's been dead silent. No leaked negotiations, no tampering rumors, no cryptic Instagram posts with eyes emojis, nothing. In the NBA, free agency leaks start weeks before it officially opens. Reporters have sources, agents plant stories, players drop hints on social media. The whole thing is a circus, and everyone knows the deals are getting done behind closed doors long before they're announced. But the WNBA right now? Complete radio silence. And that's not because people are following the rules. It's because nobody knows what the rules are yet. Teams legally can't negotiate with free agents until the window opens. But everyone knows those conversations are happening anyway, just with way more caution than usual. When the CBA isn't finalized and penalty structures aren't confirmed, even the usual back-channel communication gets risky. So, instead of the normal buzz and speculation, we're getting players who suddenly can't talk about anything. Paige Becker's response is perfect evidence. "I don't know if I can answer that." She didn't say no. She didn't deflect with a joke, end quote. She legitimately didn't know if recruiting teammates at USA basketball camp violated rules that might not even be written yet. That's how unclear this whole process is. Players want to recruit. Teams want to negotiate. Agents want to work. But everyone's sitting on their hands waiting for clarity that might not come until free agency is already underway. And that silence is making this whole period feel even more unpredictable. In a normal offseason, you'd have a sense of which players are leaning toward which teams. You'd hear rumors about who's getting max offers, who's taking discounts to chase championships, who's unhappy with their current situation. Right now, there's none of that. Just occasional official announcements and a whole lot of speculation with nothing to back it up. Which means when the floodgates open on April 7th, we're going to see moves nobody predicted. Players ending up on teams that make zero sense. Contenders falling apart. Bottom feeders suddenly loading up. The silence isn't confidence. It's the sound of everyone holding their breath, waiting for chaos to break loose. And when it does, the teams that prepared the best are going to feast while everyone else scrambles. Jonquel Jones is one of the most underrated players in this entire free agency class. And it's not even close. Jonquel Jones, former MVP, can play inside and out. Efficient scorer, solid defender, the kind of versatile big who fits in any system. But here's what makes her situation fascinating. She's been one of the few established stars who consistently praised Caitlin Clark when others were taking shots. While veterans complained about the attention Clark received, Jones went the opposite direction. She praised Clark's game. She praised the Fever fan base for their passion and energy. In a league where some players seemed openly resentful of Clark's popularity and the spotlight she brought, Jones was gracious. She recognized what Clark's impact meant for the entire league, and she said it out loud when that wasn't the popular opinion. Now she's a free agent, and Fever fans are dreaming big. Imagine a front court with Aaliyah Boston and Jonquel Jones, both elite bigs who can stretch the floor. Imagine Clark running pick and rolls with two players who can finish inside or pop out for threes. Imagine the spacing, the defensive versatility, the offensive options. That's a legitimate championship core right there. But here's the problem. Jones is going to command max money from somebody. She's too good, too proven, too valuable not to. And Indiana already has significant cap space tied up. Clark's on a rookie contract, but Boston is getting paid. If they re-sign Kelsey Mitchell, that's another big number. The math gets complicated really fast. And unless Indiana is willing to make some tough choices elsewhere, they probably can't afford Jones. Which is exactly why fans are so frustrated. They can see the perfect fit sitting right there. A player who fits the timeline, fits the system, and actually appreciates what they're building. But the front office might not be able to pull it off because of decisions they made months or years ago, contracts they handed out to players who didn't pan out, money allocated to veterans who didn't fit. All of it adding up to a situation where they can't afford the player who makes the most sense. So Jones will probably end up somewhere else. Maybe Dallas, maybe Las Vegas, maybe one of the expansion teams throws stupid money at her. And Fever fans will watch it happen, knowing she would have been perfect, knowing she actually wanted to be there, and knowing their own cap situation made it impossible. That's the kind of what-if that haunts a franchise for years. Sophie Cunningham's name is all over Fever message boards right now, and it's easy to see why. Phoenix didn't protect her in the expansion draft, but no team selected her. Not because she's not good, but because her salary demands are high, and expansion teams wanted cheaper pieces. Now she's a free agent, and Indiana fans want her badly. Three-point specialist who shot 37% from deep last season. Tough defender who doesn't back down from anyone. High basketball IQ, doesn't need the ball in her hands to impact the game. That's the exact profile Indiana needs next to Clark. Someone who can spot up in the corner, hit open threes, and guard multiple positions. Cunningham checks every single box. The question is whether the Fever are willing to pay what it takes to get her. Then there's Kelsey Mitchell, and this is where things get complicated. She's a restricted free agent, which means Indiana can match any offer she receives. But matching isn't the same as wanting to stay. Rumors suggest Mitchell might be tired of being the second option. She's been the Fever's primary scorer for years, and now Clark's running the offense. That's an adjustment not every player handles well. If Mitchell wants out, if she's looking for a situation where she can be the number one option again, Indiana has a decision to make. Do they match an offer sheet and bring back a player who doesn't want to be there? Or do they let her walk and use that cap space on someone who actually fits what they're building? The fan base is split. Some want her back because she's proven. Others think her game overlaps too much with Clark's, and they'd be better off with a pure 3-and-D player. Lexi Hull is another restricted free agent, and while she's not getting the same attention as Mitchell, teams could definitely try to poach her with an offer sheet. She's young, she's improving, and she fits the timeline. Indiana would almost certainly match, but it ties up their decision-making and adds another layer of complexity to an already chaotic process. And then there's the name nobody wants to hear, Natasha Howard. The fan reaction says it all. If we bring back Natasha, I'm throwing myself off a building. That's harsh, but it reflects how poorly that experiment went. She never meshed with the offense. Her defense was inconsistent, and her body language screamed unhappy. Bringing her back would be tone-deaf to what the team actually needs. The frustration Fever fans feel isn't new. It's the same cycle, playing out again and again. They draft or develop a player who fits perfectly with their core, watch that player contribute, and then see them leave because the front office doesn't prioritize keeping them. Tammy Fogg-Benlay last season, Khloe BB this year. And fans are terrified it's about to happen with Sophie Cunningham or whoever else actually makes sense. So why does this keep happening? Part of it is cap space management. The Fever have made financial commitments to veterans who didn't pan out, and now those contracts limit their flexibility. When you're paying players who aren't producing, you can't afford the ones who are. It's basic math, but it's math that championship teams figure out how to avoid. Part of it is front office philosophy. Some organizations prioritize veteran leadership and experience over fit and talent. They convince themselves that older players will mentor younger ones, that experience matters more than skill, that you need voices in the locker room who've been there before. Sometimes that's true. Often, it's just an excuse to avoid making hard decisions. And part of it is risk tolerance. Keeping a player like Khloe BB, who was solid but not spectacular, feels safe. She wasn't going to demand a huge contract. She wasn't going to cause problems. But she also wasn't going to move the needle in a playoff series. Meanwhile, going after someone like Jonquel Jones is risky. She'll cost more. She'll require roster moves. She'll demand a larger role. But she also gives you a legitimate chance to compete for a championship. Championship teams make bold moves. They identify their window and go for it. They trade picks. They restructure contracts. They take calculated risks because they understand that opportunities don't last forever. The Fever are playing it safe when the moment demands aggression. They're making decisions like they have 5 years to figure this out when Clark's rookie contract only lasts 4 and the first one is already gone. The pattern keeps happening because the organizational mindset hasn't changed. Until the front office starts valuing fit over familiarity, production over potential, and urgency over patience, Fever fans are going to keep watching the right players walk out the door while the wrong ones stick around. And every time it happens, that championship window gets a little bit smaller. Caitlin Clark just completed the most dominant rookie season in WNBA history. She broke the single-season assist record. She dragged a lottery team to the playoffs. She sold out arenas across the league and brought viewership numbers that executives didn't think were possible. The future of the franchise is already here, and it's everything they could have hoped for. But here's the reality that should terrify Indiana's front office. The window to build a championship team around her is right now. Not next season, not the year after. Right now, while she's on a rookie contract and before the rest of the league fully figures out how to defend her. This free agency period might be the last chance to add impact players at reasonable prices before the cap situation gets completely locked up. 3 years from now, Clark will be eligible for a max extension, and she'll get every dollar she deserves. Boston will be getting paid like the franchise cornerstone she is. The cap flexibility disappears. The ability to add multiple impact pieces in one offseason goes away. Whatever roster they build in the next 2 weeks is likely the core they'll have for the next several years, with only minor adjustments possible after that. So when Fever fans melt down over losing Khloe BB, understand what they're really upset about. It's not just one player. It's the fear that their front office doesn't have the urgency this moment requires. It's watching other teams be aggressive, make bold moves, go all in on their windows while Indiana plays it safe. It's knowing that Clark's rookie season proved this team can compete, but only if they surround her with the right pieces. The next 2 weeks will determine whether Indiana got better, stayed the same, or fell behind. There's no middle ground when you're dealing with this many free agents in this compressed a timeline. You either win or you lose. You either make the moves that push you into championship contention, or you watch other teams build super teams while you run it back with the same flawed roster. And the cost of losing is watching Caitlin Clark's prime years slip away, watching her put up incredible numbers on teams that don't advance deep in the playoffs, watching her wonder if she'd have been better off somewhere else. somewhere that understood the urgency of the moment and built accordingly. The calm before this free agency period isn't peaceful. It's the sound of general managers scrambling to finalize plans without a complete rule book. It's agents trying to gauge market value when there's no precedent for this many players moving at once. It's fans holding their breath, hoping their team doesn't waste a generational opportunity. Between April 7th and April 18th, we're going to see which organizations understand the moment and which ones don't. We'll see who overpays out of desperation and who finds incredible value. We'll see who builds championship cores and who wastes their window. And for Indiana specifically, we'll see whether they surround Caitlin Clark with shooters and defenders who maximize her brilliance, or whether they bring back the same players the fan base has already rejected. This isn't just another free agency period. This is the chaos that determines the next 5 years of the league. The teams that navigate it successfully will compete for championships. The ones that don't will spend years wondering what could have been. And somewhere in the middle of all this madness, 100 players are about to find out where they'll chase their dreams next. The storm is coming, and nobody's ready. Stay locked with my channel. Simply Explained for more updates.